Hi all, I'm Duty and welcome into the VR accessibility overview for Project Terminus VR. This game is on both the PC through Steam as well as on the Quest 2. There is I would say a good bit to talk about with this game. The first thing, and if you've seen my other overviews, really any of them, you know this is the first thing I start with. Seated mode. If you need to play seated for whatever reason, whether you are in a wheelchair or whether you have bad knees, just maybe need to take a break and you still want to be able to play VR, whatever reason it may be, and there are probably other reasons in there as well. When you first start up this game, and every subsequent time that you start up this game, you will start in a room with a desk and a keyboard and a computer. Now, if you are playing seated, you will be essentially like crouched or maybe even sitting on the ground in the game. And at that point, you cannot access like the options menu and any of that stuff. Now, I want to preface all of this before I really get into it. On Steam, this game is listed as early access, and it does seem the Quest version does get all the updates, I'm hoping around roughly the same time. They are both currently on the Christmas update that happened back in December. So I'm assuming they both get the same updates around the same time. And the reason I want to preface that is because this first bit where you're in front of the computer and you can't access the options, so you can't access like a seated mode or anything like that. That could change. That could very well change in the future. I have no idea because I'm not the dev. But if you are on PC at this part, if you are unable to fully reach out your arm, I will say right now that at the current moment is instantly going to make it so you probably can't play this game. There are no like laser pointer and then hit the like A button. None of that's in this game. You have to physically, and I put air quotes even though you can't see it, physically touch like buttons and actually reach out to grab things. There isn't any of that typical like laser pointer, hold grip, it goes to your hand, you know, that kind of stuff, or highlight a thing and then hit A and then it selects it. It's not here. So there's two things you can do. Either fully stretch out your hand and just hit escape or enter on the keyboard, on the virtual keyboard that's in front of you. Your hand will go through it, don't worry. Or you can open up OVR advanced settings and use the height offset before you even boot up Steam VR and the game. Open up walk-in VR and have a thing set to where you can essentially like grab the screen and raise or lower yourself for this bit, because once you either press enter to see the intro or escape to skip that and get into the abandoned subway station, or at least that's kind of what it looks like to me, then it, on your first time playing, it will have you go through things. It'll have you go through how you want to play. Are you going to be standing or do you want to play seated? If you select seated, automatically puts you at the correct height. At that point, you don't need OVR advanced settings. You don't need the height adjustment binding for walk-in VR. You don't need the height adjust. And don't think that I forgot about it. You don't need the height adjust on the Quest at that point. Because boom, you have seated mode activated. You're good. And then it has you like select that. You can not necessarily change the controls themselves, but it does give you the option to change your locomotion hand. So usually by default with most games, VR and non-VR, the typical movement is with the left stick. If you're a lefty, typically movement is more comfortable with the right stick. You can change that, and then that will obviously probably change some of the controls, without you having to even see them. That's about it for changing controls. And I'm assuming whatever weapon you have whatever hand you have the weapon in, mixed up my words there for a second, that'll change controls accordingly and all of that stuff. You can, other than that, there is not a ton. I mean, you can choose smooth turning, you can choose snap turning. There's obviously physical turning, which if you're in like a wheelchair, unless you're in a big enough room, I don't know how possible that one's gonna be. I'm in a pretty small area, so that's definitely not possible. But other than that, I believe there are some difficulty modes. At the moment, I'm drawing a blank. It will be in the notes if there is. You can play this game solo. You can also play this game with people in co-op and stuff like that and have fun. Now, that is about it. There are no colorblind modes or any of that stuff. So that's kind of a bummer. Again, for arm movement and body movement, at least arm movement, you're gonna need full. Like I said, you have to physically interact with everything. Whether it be a weapon, whether it be a button, whether it be whatever, you have to physically reach out and hit it with your digital finger as if you were doing it in real life. So that is going to be something, if you're unable to do it at the moment, at least, you may want to avoid playing this. Like I said, it seems to still be getting updates, and when the update happens on PC, then it obviously goes over to Quest as well at some point. I would guess at the same time, but I have no idea. Just to rewind a bit on the seated mode kind of being after the intro or after you skip it. With this game, again, being early access, I'm gonna guess that the seated mode and even the ability to turn with the analog stick and even move with the moving, that was probably in the game already. But turning with the analog stick and seated mode were probably recent additions. And the reason I say that is because on both, and I will put up screenshots, on both Steam, on the Steam store page, granted you have to scroll all the way down to the additional notes section all the way at the bottom, as well as it is on the play method section on the Quest store page, that this game can only be played standing or room scale. Now, typically when a game only allows you to play at room scale, for instance, the option to even turn with the analog stick is not there. That's usually not there. That's absent. Take games like Job Simulator and probably a lot of others. I mean, that's the first one to come to my mind. That is all physical turning, physical movement. There is no other way. If this game was originally designed that way, and then this had been added later on, which that is a possibility, I would definitely like it if the devs updated the store page, because a lot of people are probably avoiding this just because it doesn't say that you can play it seated. So update those. Update those store pages. Come on. But yeah, if that is a new addition, then maybe add the seated mode, or make the seated mode like a default thing specifically for that beginning bit where you have to press either enter or escape. Make it so that's like no matter what, you're standing, whether you're seated or otherwise, you're just standing, because it does, it's an annoyance kinda to have to make sure that OVR is open, OVR advanced settings, or to make sure that walk-in VR is going, to be able to adjust my height simply for that one thing, that one instance. And then after that, at least for adjusting height, there is no need for it. It's done because the seated mode's in the game. So I don't know. I think if that can be changed, that would be cool. If not, again, you have OVR advanced settings and walk-in VR on PC. You have the height adjust option in the settings on the Quest. So there's always ways to, get past that one section and then get right into playing the game and having fun. But yeah, hopefully this overview helped you. And if you know anybody that maybe wanted to play this game but they weren't quite sure, then show them this video or guide them to DewdyDoes.com, where there is not only a quick link to this overview in the overview tab with all of the other ones that I've done, but there is also typed out notes for every VR game I played, even ones that I don't do overview videos for, as well as setup tutorials and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, if you think it'd help, if they would need this info or want this info, guide them there. And yeah, I hope you're having a lovely day or night whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will see you later. All right, bye.